Hi everyone, this is Victor from crushcrypto.com, and today we have none other than Min Kim, council member of the Icon Foundation. Hi Min, great to have you.
Hello, thanks you for having me. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again, yeah. So we are here at the SF Blockchain Week, and you guys are one of the title sponsors. So what I know there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot going on in terms of the business and also technical side. But before we dive into those, and for those who are not as familiar with the project, could you just briefly introduce what Icon does?
Sure. So the Icon is a public blockchain project that started in South Korea. Mm-hmm. So we started off as an enterprise blockchain company, but back in 2017. So just last year, we decided that we could contribute a lot of things in the public blockchain space as well. So we started this project called Icon, and now we're starting to consolidate and bring a lot of our partners together. So the end goal that we're trying to achieve is interoperability. Of course, we believe we're making the right strategic moves to head towards that direction. And our slogan is called Hyperconnect the World. But out of all things, there's a lot of blockchain projects that are out there, a lot of protocol projects, but our team tends to focus a little bit more on the usability and the user adoption side by building one of the largest networks, blockchain networks in the world. And we're starting to do that by being very focused in our local market in South Korea, where we spend a lot of time and energy and resources bringing all the partners together from the enterprise side, from the consumer side, and also from the government side. And we're sort of creating a mini hyper-connected world where we want to achieve interoperability in a very small scale.
Right. Starting with South Korea.
Yeah.
Right.
Before we start expanding elsewhere, and we're doing exactly that right now.
Right. So you mentioned about partnership with a lot of enterprises and also government organization. Could you tell me a little bit more about what's the recent updates in terms of the business development side?
So that's a very good question, because I get updates in bits and pieces. Our team has grown so far and beyond what it used to be. So we have a project manager for each of those independent projects. So we have all these projects that are running in parallel. As for me right now, I'm very, very focused in growing our dApp ecosystem outside of Korea. So as you all know, we have established ourselves as a market leader in South Korea. We have many dApp companies who want to go through our acceleration program, and we want to continue to build trust and value by providing more and more like features and services to our partners. And one of the ways we can do that is by building a broader network outside of Korea. So I moved back to the United States about a year ago. Maybe less than a year ago, and we set up an office in San Francisco. Just earlier this year, we set up an office in Tokyo. So we're starting to build a broader network of contributors, getting more of our local communities involved, and of course getting more dApp companies. So aside from that, enterprise side and the government side in South Korea have been very, very important, and it will continue to be very important, especially on trying to improve the adoption side of things. So to give you a bit of update, so there are a few pieces. So we have what we call the consortium or enterprise consortium projects. Mm-hmm. So we have the 25 securities firms, and there we are continually working very hard to improve our commercial version of our Chain ID product. But at the same time, we're starting to explore areas where blockchain could be beneficial to the actual post-trade and the trading systems of securities companies or securities business. So those things are starting to come along. Second, we have the insurance consortium. Again, those we've achieved creating a very automated insurance claims use case, and that has been going on at a very, very small scale in a very controlled test environment. So very, very exciting things happening there. University consortium and hospital consortiums are still being worked on. So I haven't had an update in those two consortiums recently. To tell you the truth, I wish I did. I wish I had more to tell. But I know that our teams are working hard, and they're, when we do get some positive results, I'll be able to provide an update. And then the enterprise side, we have things like SmileGate, we have OK Cashback agreement with SK Planet, and then we have Line joint venture. These things are still very early, but the most update you probably have gotten is the link tokens. So Line has independently decided to create a blockchain for themselves to test on and to build dApps on and to experiment. And it's been very, very exciting seeing other companies use our technology and what we've been working on, and we've been getting a lot of good feedback on the technology itself. So it's been very, very helpful and beneficial experience. So been hearing that we've been getting some very positive momentum with the Line partnership. SmileGate and OK Cashback is just so new. We haven't gotten an update. SmileGate, I think we are, again, I haven't had much of an update on that side, but I'm sure that our team is planning things out and executing at some front. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think for some of the enterprises, like Line, for example, they are going to issue their own blockchain and their own cryptocurrency.
Right.
So I'm just curious as to they're using your technology to issue their work on their blockchain front, and how is that going to help in terms of the adoption and usage of the public chain ICX icon?
Yeah. Right. So sort of the end goal of everything that we're doing is the interchain model, is to create interoperability. So, as a technology company and as an open source project, our goal is to build a most advanced, usable blockchain and give it out for the benefit of the society. So our goal is, eventually we want to, every single project that we have, we want to interlink to make sure that ICX is being used for various smart contract purposes. But, I think it's a fair question, because I'm sure everyone is wondering how, a lot of these projects will materialize for the benefit of the ICX. But what everyone needs to understand is that it takes some time for projects to develop, and many of the times, many of the projects don't. The important thing is to get a project started, to get our nascent, technology be used by and tested by large corporation in itself is very, very meaningful. It's very, very powerful for a project like Icon. It validates that our technology is important for large corporations to use, and that in itself does increase our credibility in terms of winning government deals and other types of projects as well. So, if you ask me today, how exactly would enterprise and these independent blockchain going to benefit ICX, the best answer I can give you right now is that eventually our goal is to interconnect all of these blockchains to the nexus, so that we want to foster a very frictionless value exchange between all these independent blockchains.
Got it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, cryptocurrency is still such an early space, and for companies especially the bigger companies and also government entity, they are so conservative, right? So it's good for them to at least take the first step and to try the technology, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about ICX Station. So you mentioned briefly that you guys are setting up offices all around the globe, and there are projects that are interested in building on Icon. Can you touch more on this point?
Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to make it clear is that ICX Station and dBlock are independent entities. This means that I myself, we help kick it off by providing some financial support and working with the team in this independent accelerator. But when it comes to day-to-day operations and decision making, I would provide advice as an advisor to ICX Station, but I am totally removed from the management decisions. And it will continue to be more and more removed as we want to have more, I guess, independent, decentralized type of governance when it comes to all parties involved in our ecosystem. So ICX Station is something that we've sponsored, and we will continue to support it as long as possible, but we sort of run it independently. The two managers there, Scott Smiley and Peggy Lee, they're two extremely capable and smart guys who have their own vision and ideas, and honestly they're going through their own trial test period to see what is working and what not working. So those questions are probably best fit for the ICX Station team. But for me, it's how we envision our ecosystem to grow is that we want things to be very independent. We don't want to be the controller of everything that happens within our ecosystem, or else what we're doing would not be that meaningful.
Got it. So you guys are just providing support initially, and then you guys will be removed from these entities.
Right.
Got it. So aside from ICX Station and dBlock, what other things are you guys doing in terms of driving the actual adoption of the Icon platform?
Yeah. So there are several things we're testing out. The Iconist is one of them. So the Iconist is very similar to the ICX Station, where we don't control the news. What we see in a spectrum is that you have on one end the founders of Icon, the core tech team that is working on the Icon platform, and then of course we have our hands in a lot of different aspects of the Icon ecosystem. And then on the other hand, we have the public, the Icon fans, or people like you who have contributed to the vision of Icon. And a good analogy would be the government of the US and the people of the US, where the government of the US would always provide some information, and the public would always want more clarity. And the media's job is to try to create a compromise, try to increase transparency of the government by listening and being the bridge between the public and the government. So although we're trying to create a very decentralized republic right now, because Icon is only about a year old, we want, it is still, a lot of decision making is honestly very centralized. So eventually we are still starting to move toward decentralization, but a lot of the things we want the media to keep us honest. And guys like you, Crypto Crush is one of them, but the Iconist, we want more of these independent news sources to keep the founding team very honest with what we do. So the purpose of Iconist is to try to help grow the ecosystem by guaranteeing dApp companies that are building on top of Icon to at least have a voice within the community that we've built, because it's very difficult for dApp companies to reach out to other outside news sources and to voice themselves, to get a story out. at least, you know, like the Iconist or having a dedicated news source for Icon could help with that, you know, add more value in that respect. I mean, other than that, we love, me personally, sort of our, us winning the Seoul Metropolitan contract was probably the holy grail. Because when you think about...
Could you expand on the contract?
Sorry?
Could you expand a little bit about that deal?
Yes, definitely. So we have about 5 projects that are, I think also maybe more, but I think we have about 5 projects that are trying to create 5 use cases with the Seoul Metropolitan Government. What's very exciting is things like the voting registration systems that we're trying to take it to the next level by creating a more transparent voting system. So a lot of people don't actually, I'm surprised that a lot of people don't realize this, but when you go out there and you vote here in the US or in Korea, you drop in your ballot and you go home. There's no way to verify if the ballot or the people, politicians that you voted for, candidates that you voted for actually, you know, got, you know, if the vote went to those candidates that you voted for, basically. Like, you just trust the system. You vote, you drop in the box, and you trust that it went to the right person, right candidate. But how do you verify that? There's no system to do that. So one of the biggest benefits of blockchain is transparency. And where we're living in a democratic world, like, you know, where we are, we want to increase transparency for the government, and blockchain technology is very, very important to do that. And we love how Seoul Metropolitan Government understands this benefit of the blockchain and want to create more transparency within how the city is run, how the votes are done, how their car registration is done. Try to decrease the number of inefficiency when there's, you know, when cars are purchased and sold and your, you know, ownership is changed. So like all of this we feel is, you know, it's like there's so much great use cases, benefits of blockchain in a public sector that we're very, very excited about this opportunity.
Cool, very cool. So now I want to move on to the technical aspect, because I know that you guys have issued a lot of updates, and the new version of mainnet is also rolled out recently. Yeah, could you just walk through a little bit about what are the major technical updates?
Yeah, so I think we've had our mainnet 1, 2, 3, but honestly, you know, usually when you have a mainnet, you expect all the smart contract functionalities. Our mainnet in the beginning was, you know, very, very, you could think of it as an MVP. We wanted to, especially being very inexperienced with a nascent technology and what we've been building our platform from ground up. We wanted to do something very simple, get it out there, and, you know, create these like mini milestones for our entire team. So mainnet 3.0, it was our biggest update, where we actually have a score capabilities, meaning you could actually create smart contracts and deploy it to, you know, to be used and to be shared.
So actually right now, decentralized application can be run on the Icon platform?
Yes.
Okay.
So as a company, you could start building out smart contracts that could be used for your everyday, day-to-day business. So that's the important part, where, you know, we have a score store, which is like you could think of it as an analogy, like an Apple App Store, where you could control versioning. So this is something feature that is actually a bit controversial for some, I guess, blockchain purists, where if you set a smart contract, you should never be able to change it.
Right.
But We have something called smart contract versioning, where you could actually, as a smart contract writer, you could update or upgrade your smart contract. Of course, there's going to be some barriers when it comes to verifying that you are the smart contract owner, and it actually is beneficial to the current state of the smart contract. And you could actually revert to the older smart contract as well if there are some mistakes in it. So this is all coming from our kind of R&D, our research, doing surveys with our dApp partners and trying to figure out like what's the best platform that our partners want to use. So this is sort of a different way of I think approaching smart contracts, and I understand for purists standpoint, I understand their concerns, but we built something a little bit different, and that's our way of contributing to, I guess, the entire overall blockchain industry. Yeah, so now a lot of companies could also do an equivalent to an ERC20 token, which is you could do entire fundraising with ICX. And this is something that our team or our partners have been wanting for a few months, so we've been able to deliver that. And you know, we have a lot more exciting things coming along. We've launched our developers portal, which, you know, we have documentation ready. It's still not, you know, as complete as we want it to be, but it's a good start, and we will continue to add more documentation through feedback loop. And we just want to make it easy for developers to build on top of Icon, and we will continue to achieve that by working very closely with our partners.
Right. So for the developers that want to build an Icon, can they get in touch with you guys to share ideas and to get support from you guys?
So that's what the developers portal achieves. There's an area where you can ask questions, you could contribute to your ideas, you could give us a bug report. So there's a lot of ways you could communicate directly with the core blockchain team. So that's very beneficial. The other side is that because Icon is a little bit different, where we initially started working with the dApp partners even beginning of this year, even before we had, you know, mainnet 3.0, we invited all these dApp partners to work with us, to trust us to be able to deliver our technology. In return, you know, we've been building out these features for them. So I think that's very, very important differentiation. Like, we have a very close relationships, you know, with our core developers and also our partner developers, and we're all trying to work together to build a better platform for everyone.
Right. So right now, you mentioned that a lot of dApps, they are interested in building an Icon. Do you have the exact number of how many of them are actually going to do issue a token, do fundraising, or just build a dApp on the platform?
Yeah, we do have the exact number, but I forget in my head. So I know we had, I mean, other than
that doesn't need to be exact, ballpark numbers.
I think right now we have at least the new ones coming, probably like 5 or 6. I think we have like a dozen in the pipeline. Yeah, but of course I think this whole market condition has you know, have people waiting in the sidelines.
Right.
But I can't give you an exact date when these things will eventually happen, but WeBlock is, I think, starting middle of this month.
Awesome, awesome. And so for other blockchain, the gas fee is paid for by the users who perform the transaction. And I know that Icon does something different where there's more flexibility. Yeah. Could you tell us more about that?
Sure. So we have something called virtual steps. And virtual steps is, again, a concept that we've developed by talking with our dApp partners. And we've learned that one of the highest concerns from the dApp partners is figuring out how to mitigate transaction fees, and it's a very valid concern. And when we were struggling to kind of figure out a solution, and it seems like a very simple idea, but it actually takes months of back and forth and talking to different parties to kind of accept ideas and to figure out like what's the best solution. And we've learned that, you know, because of the fact that we are we call it DPoC, but you know, it is basically a derivation of DPoS. We're able to allow like staking of ICX, and by staking it, you could earn virtual steps, or basically loyalty points that you could use against transaction fees. So
this kind of staking is done by the developer, by the development team?
From the smart contract operators.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So you'll be able to stake ICX and earn points that could be used against your transaction fees. So this is sort of a new concept, and we've had like extremely positive reception from the dApp community, and also our contributor community, larger funds especially, because it's the concept itself is something that I think is the right compromise and right balance between what we need to achieve and what we need to do to bring more dApp developers and make them feel more comfortable on our platform. The other part we're doing is this has actually been panned out in the past, I think, 48 hours, but for the first 100 dApps that are building on top of Icon, there's not going to be any transaction fees. So
forever.
I believe so.
Okay.
I need to check. But yes, so if you're the first 100 dApps, you're building on top of Icon, this is one of the best incentives for you to build on top of Icon, because I think, transaction fees, if you could mitigate it or get rid of it, it's a big benefit to that company. So that's what we're planning to do. So surprise.
I didn't know that before, so that's definitely very interesting. I'm just wondering, so you guys have been open sourcing the code. Is it 100% open source right now, or is it taking steps?
Yeah, it's taking steps. Of course, like everything that we work on, we want to open source, but some of the things that you work on, just while you're working on it, it doesn't make any sense, or we want to reprioritize, so we just stash it somewhere and work on something else. So a good example is, I guess, something like DEX. I know that a lot of people, and even me, have been working on DEX or wanting DEX for a very long time. And our original white paper, and even earlier this year, how we wanted to build DEX was a very simple version of it. And I think if we wanted to just launch as we were planning to do, we could have gotten it done, except that the entire team just didn't feel comfortable with the entire reception of DEX at this moment in time. If you look at the market today of all the DEXs that are out, like how many of them actually have enough volume or enough demand for
and most of them are not actually truly decentralized. There's a lot of centralized components of those exchanges as well.
So, I mean, you're right. So I think as a team, as a company, although we were working on the DEX and we were, in terms of like getting something launched, would not have been a problem. It was more of like team decision to say, okay, we want products that we launch that we want to be proud of, and we want to maintain it, we want to make sure that it works, and we just did not feel very confident and comfortable with the DEX market today, DEX in today's market. So
you guys recently released the yellow paper, and there's a section that I find very interesting. It's about PREP and CREP. So could you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, so we have 43 think 43 nodes, and
those
how we're
are
looking
those
at
are
this-
C reps right now.
No, half of them is going to be C reps, and the half
Okay.
is going to be P reps.
Okay.
That's what we're thinking. And of course, the C reps is when you have a independent community. Is where you link other blockchains to our blockchain. But the P rep is more of a independent node, and kind of the big picture idea is that one of the largest problems that we've seen about this whole blockchain ecosystem is that people are viewing cryptocurrencies as a form of dividends or as passive income. If you're an early investor and you accumulate a lot of tokens and you're able to stake that tokens like a deposit,
Right.
and you just earn passive income and you don't reinvest a lot of that back into the ecosystem, and there's a whole fairness question which you're not really contributing anything to the ecosystem, but you're able to just earn something and use it to take it out of the ecosystem. So I think there's just a lot of problem in terms of the when it comes to trying to grow an ecosystem where a lot of that block rewards needs to be reinvested back into the ecosystem to grow, which is the reason we have this whole DPOC concept of rewarding and allocating rewards to those who deserve it, who actually contribute back into the ecosystem. So going back to your questions, the whole P-rep concept is like we want P-reps, and C-reps is sort of already contributing by linking to the ecosystem, but we want P-reps to be candidates that are that want to help grow the ecosystem in many different ways. And these are the people or teams that not only validate but are committed to keeping everything very honest and helping the ecosystem grow. And part of that is we would accept P reps to have what we call EEP, which is ecosystem expansion proposal, which is you having a plan to help our ecosystem grow basically. And this is where I think as contributors, token holders could actually vote and stake their tokens to the right token holder, and it's not going to be all about just staking and earning passive income. It's going to be about coming up with the IISS score and figuring out who deserves more allocation versus not. So we're thinking about the fairness problem and contribution problem that I think this whole blockchain industry sort of lacks at this moment. So we're trying something that is a little bit different and a little bit newer, and we feel it will work better for the Icon ecosystem. So so that's how we are thinking about P reps and C reps.
Right. So aside from having the necessary equipment to maintain the node, you guys also want to make sure that all the node operators, they are actually actively contributing to the Icon ecosystem, right?
Yeah. So that's a very, very good way to think about it. It's like, because honestly, it's two different jobs, right? One is you run all the hardware, make sure it's maintained well. That in itself is a job itself. But on top of that, if you have to write an EEP and do other things to help maintain, help the ecosystem grow, I mean, this feels like two separate jobs, but at the same time, I mean, we're thinking through this still, but I think overall, we want to see how it works out. We do have a lot of smart technical people who are good with hardware, software, and also helping a lot with our ecosystem growth. And some of these guys are already leading our community. Guys like Justin or To Infinity have been adding a lot of value in our community, and he, I feel like he's an invaluable resource to the icon ecosystem, and he puts together a community of translators to get the most important papers translated into many different languages. I mean, those type of people needs to be rewarded, because I believe those type of people would help grow and add addition, like basically make your tokens more valuable.
Right, for sure.
For the long run.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. And my last question for you, Min. So where do you see Icon and its ecosystem in 1 year and also in 5 years' time?
So hopefully within the next 3 to 5 years, that's when at least interoperability is more stable. So, I've been telling that there's kind of two sides of the equation. On one side, you have operability. So we are working very hard to transition to a world of hyperconnectivity, what we foresee as where all the blockchains were interlinked and be interoperable. But interoperability is the end game. It is what we want to achieve in the next few years. Just because it was on our white paper doesn't mean that we're going to get it done in like a year, because it's like the world moves fast, but not that fast. Mm-hmm. So in the next 3 years, we hope that we will achieve some level of interoperability between some of these chains that we have. And honestly, if we could achieve that in itself, I think it'll be just an amazing feeling, because that's what that was our vision and our goal.
That's your slogan, right?
Yes. And starting to see that form, I think it's just going to be it's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it was very informative for sure, and also a lot of stuff that I didn't already know. So it was great talking to you, Min.
Great. Thank you.
Best of luck with everything.